Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Brigadier as he stops the video game The Last of Us from becoming reality in episode number 307. I'm Keith.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Well, we'll get there.
Did I miss a...
Now I'm paranoid that I
I'm
missed
afraid I
something.
forgot to read a story now.
Well, no.
The Last of Us is the zombie game, right?
They're not really zombies. They're more like
Spoilers.
mushroom people.
Spoilers.
They're like fungus
Spoilers.
taken over by funguses.
Spoilers.
Oh, we did read that one.
Did we?
I'm Sean.
That's the last duty.
Yeah, but how's that relate to a video game?
Because the monsters in The Last Duty are very much like the monsters in The Last of Us.
That's the problem. I don't understand the Last of Us reference. I'm glad.
I'm deaf.
Maybe our listeners will. Sorry about the knock on the
Maybe.
table. I'm not as conscious about it this week. Maybe our listeners will get it. I don't know. I'm old.
That's all I had for an open anyways, so.
There's
How are you guys?
where
I'm well. I'm well.
Where Lethbridge-Stewart prevents Super Mario Brothers, the movie, from becoming real life.
I know that one.
There you go.
Koopas. They're mushrooms. I get it.
Koopas were mushrooms?
They were fungus.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh man,
It's been a long time since I've watched that movie.
Good for you. Don't go back.
Don't go back. Don't bother going back and checking that because it's not worth it.
I thought Koopas were the little lizards.
They are, but they
They were funguses in the movie?
well because of the mushrooms
The
that
mushrooms
Mario
are
eats
Koopas.
throughout the thing. That's one of the things that that's.
Oh, okay.
I will admit, Super Mario Brothers is one of those movies that is really eminently watchable based on how bad it is.
That's not even true.
I feel like watching a train wreck.
Yeah.
That's not even true.
I like
Train
going
wrecks are
back
more
and,
enjoyable.
No.
No,
Yes, train wrecks are much more
I like
enjoyable
going back
than
and watching Super Mario Brothers and going, my
No.
God, this is terrible.
No.
And the fact that they got such good actors in it, too.
Don't give anybody any ideas either.
Did you ever see that interview with Bob Hoskins? Like
I don't want to get sued because somebody went back and watched a crappy movie.
they went back and they were asking him a series of questions about, what was the biggest career mistake you ever made? And he said Super Mario Brothers. And what was the most difficult time you ever had? Super Mario Brothers. Was there a role you ever did that you just didn't relate? Super Mario Brothers. I mean, it was his answer. Apparently, like, the movie literally almost killed him.
Oh,
like, at one
gosh.
point, there was a stunt that went bad, and they broke his arm, and then they tried to electrocute him, and then, it was just
Wow.
on and on and on and on and on with that movie.
I think I remember hearing about him almost being electrocuted on the set.
Yeah. Yeah, he did not enjoy making Super Mario Brothers.
Probably more so than it is watching it. Hard telling.
Then
Depends
he had to
depends
go
on
to the
person.
premiere and sit through it. And I went through that for that.
We might have to put that on the Flicks with Friends schedule.
That'd be a good one to chat about. I don't want to have to watch it again.
But you got to be fresh on it, Glenn.
Fresh enough.
Once is enough.
Yeah.
It'd be a great one for the what went wrong. How do we fix it? Well, you don't make it. That's kinda...
Start over from scratch is how you fix it.
Who are you? Mario Luigi. Who are you? Luigi.
Did you guys do anything fun this week?
Oh, I got part of my exterior illumination up. I say part because I didn't crawl up the ladder because it was too wet to do the across the top. But I've got everything else that's down low up. So kids were in Dear Santa. They opened this weekend, which is a really charming, really cute play that Helen Hawker's putting on. And they both did a terrific job. Caitlin's got a lead in that. And we watched... I did some wrapping presents last night and watched... Mickey is A Christmas Carol and Holiday Inn.
I saw.
Very nice.
And apparently great minds think alike because Mel and I also did some rapping last night and watched Christmas movies.
Actually, your post reminded me, hey, I could do some rapping, and so it wasn't so much, it was more of a, hey, Sean, you've got a good idea.
Stealing
It was
from
more
the
of-
greats
yeah,
is
it was
what
more
that
of
was.
that, yeah. It wasn't, well, we weren't in sync or anything. It was me going, oh, that's a good idea, Sean.
No, we watched Hook and Lethal Weapon, so that was our Christmas movie start.
Nice. I forgot that Hook was a Christmas movie. been a long time since I've watched that
I
one.
didn't realize it's been a while since I watched it. He put it up, and I thought, I trust him because he's one of those ones that watches the non-traditional Christmas movies.
It's not traditional. I mean, it's
not.
it's set at not in Neverland per se, but the outside
the
Neverland
rest.
scenes are set at Christmas time.
So the beginning and end are Christmas.
Yeah. Close enough.
Close enough, yes.
I'd forgotten how much Christmas is in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Like I really, that
one I knew. When
I think
that one showed up,
Well, that's a
everything, I
Shane
went,
Black
there's
movie.
that.
Well, yeah.
He wrote it anyway.
But when I think of
Christmas.
that one, I always think, Jingle Bell Rock at the beginning. And then that's pretty much it. It's like, no, there's really Christmas throughout.
yeah.
I mean, the Christmas tree scene with the cocaine dealers and the... It's such a great Christmas movie. I'm just going to do all
If you don't have
non-traditional
cocaine,
Christmas
if
movies.
you don't have cocaine dealers in your Christmas movie, you're not watching a regular.
What are you watching
No,
next? Eyes Wide Shut.
I'm more into the when I'm wrapping gifts and things like that. I'm more into traditionals. But
Well, normally
I will watch things like Lethal Weapon or Die Hard, but when I'm wrapping presents, it's definitely non-traditional. Or definitely traditional, not non-traditional. Definitely traditional.
I like to watch Nightmare Before Christmas while wrapping presents. I put Christmas lights up on the house.
I saw them on your Facebook. They look great.
Thank you.
I just brightened my day. I opened my Facebook and I had a notification for Keith because I've got you guys set up to give me notifications, and I popped in there and I went, "Oh, I like that."
They've actually had been up for about a week before I took the picture because I was not pleased with how they turned out initially. I was about 5 feet short for the icicle lights. And you know how hard it is to find a 6-foot strand of icicle lights? It's not very easy.
Apparently pretty hard. I don't know.
At least not for the price I want to pay.
Not a fan of the icicle lights. I will be honest with you. That's why they're not in my house. However, when you have a peaked roof like you have, they look gorgeous. And so they really work on your house.
Thank you. I like them that. I didn't put them sideways along the side because I didn't think it would look good that way. So.
I agree that you did it. Yeah, in fact, I looked at it and I was like, okay, he's done nice.
If you look at it
right
in
way.
person, you can kind of tell that it kind of worked out a happy accident that my peak kind of flattens out in the middle and then goes down on each side. That stretch is the 6-foot stretch.
Oh, there you go.
And you can tell because it's slightly redder than the rest. I don't know why, but it is. I guess because it's a cheaper brand.
Probably.
I don't know.
Well, the bulbs probably burn at a slightly different temperature, so you're
Yeah.
probably getting more of a red hue.
Yeah.
Maybe if they've burned for a while, that'd be.
Maybe. I don't know. But it was quite a... Okay, so the hazard of buying these Christmas lights when they're on clearance, because one strand we bought last year on clearance had... You know how most plugs nowadays are polarized
Yep.
and have one wider than the other two?
Yep.
Not all Christmas lights are sold that way.
Nope.
This one strand was. Do you know how hard it is to find an adapter that isn't polarized?
Not hard if you call me, because I've got about 7 because I bought them up because I went, you know what? I'm not going to get stuck with this again.
If you have an extra to spare,
I think I do. I'll have to go dig them up.
if you notice, I'm not entirely pleased with the fact that the ones on the windows and the door, you can see that the door kind of doesn't go all the way to the ground. It kind of loops up so it can connect.
Yep.
That's the one I'm missing an adapter for.
So you needed to pull that strand up so that you had to connect.
Yeah, to connect.
I
the
wondered
two.
about that. I wondered why it went up that way on that one
That's
side
why.
and didn't on the other side.
I found an adapter for that side so it could go down. Because
dig around.
the extension cords, it has to be...
I'll dig around. Here's the problem is I had that problem years ago, and I've got 2 of them in a set of strands of Christmas lights that I can't find.
Oh.
Luckily, I had bought new lights this year, so I could put some of mine up. But
We have not gotten ours.
I know.
They were
we
supposed to have
came
been
here, it
done.
was dark.
Yeah. They were supposed to have been done. I wanted to do them when the weather was nice, and the
was
ladies
all
were
excited.
supposed to get them all color coordinated and ready to go. And we bought all those light strands, and
Redid all the bulbs and all the different colors.
of the 10 strands, whatever it was that we had, only 2 of them worked this year.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And we went and checked every bulb, and we checked every fuse. Nothing. So I have all new strands,
Yeah.
and they're ready to go. They finally, we plugged them all in. We've got them color coordinated, and the weather turned on me. It's like I'm not getting up there Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I was all excited about Keith's, and I thought, ooh, and then Sunday night I get to go over and see Sean's, and I pulled up, and I went, oh, maybe he didn't have them on, and then I got closer, and they weren't even on.
They're not even
house.
up yet. So the weird thing, I have presents wrapped. I don't even have the tree up yet.
Here's the thing. I'll freely admit, I am the guy who is filling the landfills with Christmas lights because I get them out and they don't work, and I'm not patient enough to check every dang bulb, and I'm not patient enough to check the fuses, so I set them aside, I buy new ones, and I throw those away, and that's so wasteful, I know, but I just can't deal with doing the one bulb at a time.
Well, ordinarily I wouldn't either, but I mean, we just bought these 2 years ago.
Yeah,
we've had them up 2 years.
And the thing is, now they've dropped the price so much, and they've lowered the quality of them that they don't last as long because they want to lower the price.
I keep buying new ones, and they're cheap, and then the next year they don't work.
I had put up one of our strand. I didn't check them before putting them because I pulled them out of a box and went outside to put them up. So I didn't think to check them. One chunk of my icicles...
Rookie mistake.
One chunk of my icicles wasn't working. And then... So I've been doing this in the morning, and Sarah doesn't want me getting on the ladder alone by myself.
That's why mine haven't gone up.
Part of my delay also is it's been really cold in the morning when I get off of work. Yeah. But so Sarah's mom has been coming over, and so she came over so I could fix the one chunk. And she brought a stick, and I kind of tapped them and then turned them on. They worked.
Hey.
That night...
Keep the stick next to the door.
I go to walk Cody. They're on. I come back. They're off. And then they're off.
You've
and
got
then the
a
next...
short somewhere.
It was a bulb loose in one of them. So when I got up there to fix them completely, because they didn't stretch all the way to the edge of the roof, which is why I needed the 5-foot, I replaced that one bulb, and it's been fine since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine you out there with a zzz, zzz, and you just get the stick. And you go back inside.
And she brought the stick over, and it was long enough to reach it because it extended. I don't have one of those, so I couldn't go out and fix it on my own without getting that. Because it's one of those sticks where you're supposed to be able to hook it up onto the lights for you. One of those.
That's what I need for my roof.
I probably didn't
Mine's
do my
probably
hooks right,
enough.
but... Did you guys watch anything other than Christmas stuff?
No, not really.
Any new Christmas stuff that you hadn't seen before?
I'm still working on my my Christmas list. We used to go through and pull all the Christmas movies off the shelves and then stack them up next to the DVD player every year so that we had from December on, this is your choices. This is what you get to pick to watch from. I don't care what just came out. I don't care what you're in the mood for. This is your option. And we just decided it was too much. So I started making a list, and I have it broken down. These are Christmas movies. These are Christmas-ish movies. These are episodes of TV shows that are Christmas.
Yeah,
and so I've got about halfway
through. I
through
stream those because I can get all those old episodes places.
I've got about halfway through my collection of stuff, and just haven't finished it up yet.
Sean, you watch anything else?
I'm current on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think I'm
Me
bored
too.
with Ghost Rider.
Me too.
Let's move on to news.
Okay.
In news, the good folks at Candy Jar Books announced the next Lethbridge-Stewart book, Mind of Stone, by Ian McLaughlin. The final novel of 2016, is sending the brig to prison for destroying a rural English village. It also brings back fan favorite Captain Knight from The Web of Fear.
Yay.
Yay.
So, if you joined us for Friday Night Who, you have a strong recollection of who that is. I have a brief synopsis here. You'll be taken from this court and remanded in custody until your trial. Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart has been remanded to Wormwood Scrubs Prison, and his team has no idea why. Secrecy surrounds his case, but his team barely have a chance to process anything before they are sent on a mission to Egypt. Why does it seem like Lethbridge-Stewart is going out of his way to court trouble from the prison's most notorious inmates? And why does it have to do with well-known gangster Hugh Godfrey? In a museum in Cairo, Anne Travers and her team are trying to uncover the mystery surrounding some unusual stone statues that resemble those held in a secure military facility in Berkshire. One thing connects these events: a mysterious cargo transported by Colonel Pemberton and Captain Knight in August 1968. So this author has written for the Brigadier before. Back in 2004 for an older Brigadier in Big Finish's unit series.
Oh.
So that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
I'm interested to read it.
Almost sounds like it would tie into Black Eggs of Khufu, but
Well, it said they're getting ready to go to a mission to Egypt, and we know Black Eggs does take place in the future.
It's
so
true.
Yeah.
Maybe this will set
It
that
might be
up.
a tie-in. We'll have to check with Andy to find out.
It'll
Not a tie-in, but connected that way.
ship out mid-December.
can't
So
wait.
here soon, likely. It also features a foreword by Victor Pemberton,
Ooh. Good get.
whom after Colonel Pemberton was named.
Ah, good get.
Very cool.
Yeah. And there are now international subscription offers. For those overseas, you can now get subscription offers for their book lines.
Cool. They're expanding, growing,
Yes.
prospering. I love
Very
to hear
exciting.
that. I love to hear that.
That's it, news. Let's move on to feedback.
We have feedback this
We
week.
have feedback.
Yay!
Chrissy writes, "Hello, dear Vort."
Up. GarageBand has detected feedback. You may have just been a little too
Just
excited.
recording that.
That happens to me all the time. That's because we don't have the feedback protection, or we have the feedback protection off. It's
So-
still recording though, right?
It's still recording.
Yeah, you're okay. Just cancel it.
So I hit monitor on.
Yes. Then we should come back. Whoever caused that.
Check.
Keith was just a little too excited.
Oh, feedback.
What'll happen is because even with those headphones on, it hears that over your mic, and that's what happens. That was another thing I liked about the new GarageBand is it does not do that.
Huh.
Yeah, we could probably do that without feedback protection, and that little thing wouldn't pop up. I never hear the feedback when I play it back. So
It just did it when he went, Chrissy, right? And then it,
yeah,
So-
it just does it.
Huh.
weird.
It's an old feature that they must have done away with the new one, realizing it was pointless.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Chrissy writes, "Hello, dear Vortex boys. I seem to this every few months, get behind, binge listen on the podcast I miss, then send feedback in. I've been enjoying the podcast as always. I did start reading Havoc Files too. Totally agree with your assessment of House of Giants. That was a fun one. All these short stories are nice little side trips in the Lethbridge-Stewart line. As long as Candy Jar continues to produce high-quality stories, I will continue to be happy to give them my money. I do have to gently correct one of you, I think it was Sean, who said your Goodreads challenge was full of Doctor Who and Star Trek books. You haven't read any real books this year. You certainly did read real books. You read things you enjoyed. Reading isn't supposed to be some pre-approved list that comes down from on high and you aren't allowed to read anything except what some arbitrary scholarly thing gives you. Read classics, read sci-fi action, read fantasy, read nonfiction, read kid books. As long as you're enjoying it, just read."
I thought about that at the
Here,
time I
Chrissy.
said
That's
it,
what I
Chrissy.
tried to tell him last week. Okay, no, I didn't.
No, I thought about it at the time I said it because I subscribe to that. I'm going to read what I want. What are you reading this week? Hardy Boys. Okay.
Just why I'm not guilty about mine being mostly Doctor Who.
But it's always been mine. Doesn't matter what, I've been reading because it's my reading. And now I'm posting it and everybody else is looking at it. And I got a little bit of the, But yeah, no, for the most part,
I would
don't
agree
care.
with Chrissy 100%. On the flip side, you do want to kind of expand your horizons sometimes.
Get some
but
variety
the most important
sometimes.
thing is that you're reading.
Yes.
That always gets me on a soapbox, so thanks for letting me vent about it.
You're welcome.
Sometimes I need to hear it too. I'm going through and getting caught up again, so that's why this feedback's short. If I don't get another one out before the end of the year, I hope that isn't the case. You three have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, and I'll catch you later. Take care, Chrissy.
Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you, Chrissy.
Thanks
quite
for writing
busy.
in. Yes.
Quite busy. We understand.
You too can write in. You can go to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and fill out the Send Us Feedback tab like Chrissy did, or you can send it to us directly at feedback@travelingthevortex.com. or reach out to us on social media, Twitter and Facebook. We are there. Just search for Traveling the Vortex.
We're going to do something a little different this week. We talked about doing Power of the Daleks every week. We kind of decided that we're doing them once a week. There's not a lot happening. And so I think what we liked was the fact that we paired up episode 1 and 2 last week. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold off. We're going to do 3 and 4 next week. And then maybe we'll hold off and do 5 and 6, so we can do a little bigger chunk of story, because I have a feeling we're just kind of reiterate the things we said about it last week if we do it this way. So we're going to hold off, and we'll do Power of the Daleks Part 3 and 4 on the next podcast.
I will have to say I have never noticed how much they don't move along until I watch them week to week.
Yeah, it's that's the one thing. It's certainly a different experience watching them this way.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our first review of The Creatures in the Cave by Rick Cross.
Now, these are the Lethbridge-Stewart shorts
Yes.
that we're catching up on.
Which, Creatures in the Cave was originally released in Havoc Files 1.
And we missed it. We overlooked
missed
it.
But I don't feel too bad about it, because it's actually the prologue to Times Squared.
Which is
It's
funny.
an extended version.
Which is funny because exactly. Which is funny because, and I haven't started Times Squared yet, but when I read this, when I went back and read it, it seemed all very familiar to me. And I don't
It
know
did
if
to me
maybe
too.
when I was reading Havoc Files, maybe I did read it and I just couldn't remember many details of it. But
I guarantee you I had not read it. It was a surprise to me to see that it was in the book, and it was a surprise to me to read it. I have no idea. It's new to me. But yes, it is the prologue to
it's an
Times
extended
Squared.
prologue, because I'm assuming the prologue will be shorter in Times
A little
Squared.
bit, yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit shorter in the book. I have started the book,
So
and
have
it's a
I.
little bit shorter in the book, but the end of the book version is different than...
Okay.
And I assume that's just the changes that they made to set up what is to come.
Okay. Good to know.
So make sure you read the book version as well.
Oh, I had intended to.
It's kind of neat that it's a direct sequel to The Abominable Snowman.
Yeah.
Or not even a direct, it's
not
an
even a sequel.
epilogue.
It picks up right there as the Doctor and Jamie and Victoria have left, and Travers runs off because he sees the Yeti, and follows it. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
It was interesting. I'm not sure I quite understood what was happening, and it almost felt like a setup for something to come. And so,
well,
I don't know.
before I realized, because I read this before Andy gave us the heads up of, hey, that's actually the prologue, and before I started the prologue, and I got the impression while reading it that it was setting up how the Yeti get into the underground. So I never really felt like we got a thorough explanation of why and how, other than the one that we saw in Travers, or that museum. I never felt like we got a very thorough explanation of how all these Yetis wound up in the underground. Because there's more than one.
Travers brought one back,
but
it was sans the power unit for it. So.
And there was more than one in the subways.
Yeah.
So I got the impression that this was kind of setting that up and establishing, oh yes, the great intelligence that lived. This is how it kind of continues on and continues to do what it does.
But what happens to Travers at the end was weird nonetheless. So.
That is true, and that part did not make sense to me until I started reading Times Square.
Okay, good. Then I'll be okay with it, because it was enjoyable. It was it's quick. It's not a very long one.
No, it isn't.
And,
it moves along really fast. How far into Times Square are you, Sean?
I'm only 60 some odd pages.
Okay.
We've just gotten to
no spoilers.
We've just gotten to that thing where that
next
guy
week.
did that.
The thing where that guy does the stuff.
The end of this book this short made sense yet?
Not yet.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Yeah, no, I'm fresh on it. So.
But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It was I really like Professor Travers' character, and regardless of knowing where he ends up and what happens to him, for the most part, especially if you consider downtime.
Just got to keep twisting that fork.
Yes, I do.
We need to do a
especially if you consider
bingo
downtime.
card.
I like the. I need a flow chart.
A new
now.
bingo card.
I need a flow chart though too. But yeah, so every time I bring up downtime. What was I saying? Oh,
Travers.
I thoroughly enjoy Professor Travers, and I like that they've been toying with that character and how it's developing and how Candy Jar has kind of tweaked what we know of from the very limited stuff that we know of Professor Travers and really expounded on that. And I mean, there's a lot more to do. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I like where they're going with it. I think
It's nice that
cool.
we get some of the young Travers, because we haven't gotten a lot of that in this line so far.
That was something that really struck me reading it. It was almost it's not a different character, but it was very much a different take on Travers' character, because we pretty much know him from Web of Fear on, when he's older and all the stuff that Candy Jar's done so far.
But had you read Abominable Snowman back when Keith and I read Abominable Snowman,
Or at least watch the recons.
Yeah, that's what you did. Watch recons.
I did watch the recons.
Oh, you did.
And
Okay.
Can I
Because
finish my story?
I feel like we
I was
know
about
a
to
lot of the
explain
young young Professor Travers. Go ahead. No, you can't explain it. If you had,
As I was saying, it felt like a different take, because I didn't read the book of The Abominable Snowman when we reviewed it. I just watched the recons, and you don't get nearly as much,
no, not
obviously,
from the
as
recons, certainly.
No.
what you can hear. And watching the way he plays Travers as an older man, it's just different. And so that's the Travers that I know. And here he's young and foolish and charging blindly up a Himalayan mountain, chasing something without a gun or a camera or anything. And it's like, dude.
That's what's so refreshing, is that it is very much the Travers that you read about in the novelization for The Abominable Snowman. I think even it comes across somewhat in the recon as well.
It's you get a bit more of the Travers that would go off to hunt the Yeti, as in this, like before he would meet the Doctor type of characterization. Than I think we get through most of the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah, no, I mean, I enjoyed it immensely. It felt different to me, and it was a refreshing different.
Well,
this isn't a Travers I'm used to.
Well, yeah, and we are more familiar with Web of Fear Travers because it exists, and we go back to it a bit more frequently because we're often dealing with the older Travers in
these stories. Yeah,
so.
I would agree. I'm certainly more familiar with older Travers because of those as well. But it was neat to really feel like they still had a grasp on the younger Travers that you get from Abominable Snowman. That's good.
Yeah, I can't say much more about it other than
It's got me excited to read Times Squared. I was already excited, but it's got me more excited to read Times Squared. What's the next one?
Let's move on to The Last Duty. What do you guys think of this one?
I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
I didn't like it as much, but I liked it. It's an interesting way of framing a story where someone's sitting at a table talking to his aunt and trying to decide how much he can disclose because he signed the Government Secrecy Act. And her just flippantly saying, "Oh yeah, I signed that so many years ago." But anyway, then going into this story and being dropped right in the middle of the action. That was kind of a neat take as well. It felt like it was trying to tug at some heartstrings, especially with that one private that is half transformed, and the brigadier sort of gives him his resting place, and then that in turn basically gives him his dignity and a reason, or not a reason. Yeah, give him a reason, give him a clause, and then coming back to help our heroes at the end. I thought it was neat. It was unique. I liked it. Again, not as exciting. It was more of a one of those kind of just slow burn stories because it slow burn. that was a bad time. Because it's one of those that's couched in. There's a lot of action, and then there's a lot of story. And then there's a lot of action. Yeah. And so pacing wise, it was irregular, but it was good.
That is something I will agree with. I felt when Lethbridge-Stewart is talking to the soldier, and we're spending a lot of time dealing with the change and the ramifications of it, and I mean, admittedly, as you said, tugging on the heartstrings, there's a big emotional chunk of story here. In the back of my head, there's kind of this tapping foot going, yeah, what about the stuff?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you can't wait here. You've got things to deal with out there.
Well, but at that point, they
was pretty
they
quiet,
thought they were
but-
done.
yeah.
They thought they were. This was the last threat. There was
Yeah.
just something going on, but there obviously was something percolating. But
Well, because didn't we get the scene back with the other group
you do, but
where they know something's up and they
But
go
the-
rushing to the
you
warehouse?
do, but to me that implied that whatever Lethbridge-Stewart was dealing with was what was causing the havoc, and so I just framed it in the sense that he's dealing with the last element of it. I didn't expect the activity to be because the
okay.
professor was, the professor or doctor, whoever he was,
Yeah.
was still present and was the host. I didn't know that, so that
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
didn't
didn't. At least I didn't. That didn't. When Anne and Bishop are having the irregular readings and they're rushing to find out because they say, you know, Lethbridge-Stewart is there. I equated that to what was causing them to panic was emanating from this last threat that the Lethbridge-Stewart was dealing with. So to me, it was, well, I know what the threat is. It's this private that's still, you know, I mean, it was on hindsight.
There's still the fungus.
On hindsight, there was a lot more to worry about based on what they were seeing on their fungal meters. But I just I didn't have that. I didn't have that. Oh, there's something else imminent because I thought Lethbridge-Stewart was dealing with the imminent what was causing the
I
imminent.
see. I didn't take it that way, but maybe that's part of the omnipotence of being the reader, and I'm in the know of things that Lethbridge-Stewart is not. So,
That's true.
but I liked fungus people. I thought that was kind of a cool. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's a different.
It's a bit
monster.
Last of Us, but you know. So in that game, it's instead of zombies, they are taken over by fungus and pretty much just stripped away of their. Pretty much what happens in this book.
An hour later, we get to the
We get to the
explanation.
I mean, and they become very much like the guy that was.
Okay, all right.
So
Remember
now
that
if I go
scene
through
in
and
Super
play
Mario Brothers where the king was turned into the,
No. Not going there again. Okay.
we're just ensuring that all stays in now.
But that's not to its detriment because I think
It's not.
It's such
No,
a
I
unique
mean,
thing that unlike
I didn't know about it,
unlike,
so it definitely
unlike the
wasn't to
Playing
its
Dead
detriment.
where it's such a kind of a trope, this idea is so fresh. Pun not intended. There. That it's not used so much that it seems new to if you're not familiar with that sort of game.
Yeah, it was new to me. It felt familiar from something else, and I can't, for the life of me, think of what it was. Maybe that Geordie Verle story with a meteor on Creepshow. Although that wasn't really a fungus, but something started growing on him and taking him over.
Yeah,
What was that? The last something of Geordie Verle? I can't remember what it was called.
I can't remember the name of it now.
I don't know.
The Stephen King segment.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that about Last of Us. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
there
I
aren't
thought
real
Last
zombies.
of Us was a zombie game. So
No, they act kind of like zombies, but they're a bit different.
Well, I think that's probably been spoiled for everybody now because that's probably what you're meant to think. Go in and think it's about zombies, and then find out it's fungus.
Considering the fact that they just announced the sequel, I don't feel bad at spoiling it for you.
I think your limitation, your statute of limitations on
They've
spoilers
remastered
is
it for
yeah.
PlayStation 4. It's
you special Sony guy, you.
Well,
that's the problem. Is it's a Sony game.
We'll give you a statute of limitations pass this week.
Now I don't need to play it.
No, there's whole other reasons you need to play it, but
I've heard it's phenomenal, but I'm an Xbox kid, so.
yeah.
But having not known that, it still felt fresh and
Yeah.
original, and
Yeah.
it
Oh, yeah.
was cool to do something a little different because you could have easily, well, maybe not easily. I don't know about rights and licensing, but you could have easily thrown in something like, oh, it's a crinoid, or oh, it's a this, or oh, it's a.
Oh, yeah.
There are so
You
many
know, those
threats
other-
within the Doctor Who universe that could have cropped up, and it's fungus people. It's like, oh, that's something new, and they're susceptible to flamethrowers. Yes.
Awesome.
It's nice to have those. I know we've joked about it watching some of the old Briggs stories that, you know, just once I'd like to have something that wasn't invulnerable to bullets. And it's nice to see
To have those stories.
you know, the group here. I can't think of the name of the home division. What are they called?
Havoc?
Well, but within the
Fifth operational corps.
Fifth operational, yeah. It's not Havoc.
That's,
It is.
the
That's what
their
Havoc-
whole thing is
That's
Havoc.
what the acronym. is Havoc.
Yeah, well,
Whatever fifth operational.
I never
core.
thought they in story. I mean, it's
Yeah,
the
no,
joke, but
no,
never
they-
in story have they referred to it as Havoc, have they?
V is 5, 5th Operation
Yeah.
Core. That's the
And then
VOC.
there's an HA.
HA, and I can't remember what it is.
Home
There's-
something.
The acronym
Home.
or the
But
something.
within story, they've never Lethbridge-Stewart
they
has never
always just
called
call it
Havoc.
the fifth operational core.
Right. Okay.
They've never
but-
said Havoc. Yeah.
Okay, I'm right in my thinking then. But anyway,
They gave us the full thing once, and it was Havoc.
yeah, that's a mouthful. You should just call it Shield. I get the joke. I do. It's nice to see them being effective. That's what I'm really enjoying about this. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Is
Yeah.
hey, I've got a flamethrower. I can kill this thing. Yay! All right, we'll move on. I thought it. I don't know. I just liked it. I thought it was
I
a
did
fun little
too.
adventure story, and
And I did like the heart of it.
I did too.
Yeah.
I can see maybe for Gwen, it may have been sugared on a little too thick, but
Yeah, no, I'm not sure it was. Maybe I don't know. There was just some point where I was tapping my foot, going, "Get me back to the action." I wasn't necessarily, there's something impending coming. I was
Gwen's going flamethrowers.
No, it was fine. It was fine. I just kept waiting for Lethbridge-Stewart to flame him, and he never did. So he ended up helping him out to the little patch of grass. And I don't know, the little patch of grass was a neat thing, but it was almost like it was too. It's not telegraphed. What am I looking for? It was almost too.
A little too pad.
There was just too much pad there. Yeah, I was like, okay, it's
Convenient.
some poor guy probably tilted himself, and I was that drew out. I think that could have been easily truncated, but it was good. It was fine. I enjoyed it.
Did anybody else make the flamethrower noise when you're reading it?
Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill. Sorry, that just came to me.
That was because I did all through Grandfather Infestation. Every time they fired him up, I make sound effects when I read.
So this was set after Grandfather Infestation.
I believe so.
I believe so,
He had
yeah.
already
Requisition.
requisitioned the flamethrowers, so they had
Yeah.
those on hand already. So.
I can tell you this: it makes me want to know a little bit more about Eileen.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
woman
that was
relaying the story.
and that's the nice thing about this story. I can find a really positive about this is that I think this character must have been named by somebody in real life, because there's a little honoree there.
There's
at
an
the end.
afterword.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
the aunt is based off of her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The aunt who was apparently in the wax, and she signed the secrecy because she had this. She'd had occurrences with aliens as well. That was neat. That was a neat little thing, and I think in a nutshell, it's really a way to kind of honor her, and the namesake of both the characters obviously is from her
Yeah.
as well. So I
Yeah,
thought that was
absolutely.
neat. Liked that a lot.
And there is an excerpt in the back of this from Candy Jar that there is, I believe it's from Candy Jar, Eileen's War from Eileen Young Husband,
Yeah,
and so there's a book
there are
that you
some
can
books that you can.
go out and learn more.
Nice little tie-in to other things.
She has also published one called One Woman's War,
Yep.
which I'm very interested in finding a copy of. So
All right, and then we're going to forego Eva the Fomorians. I think we had that on the schedule, but we had a tip from a certain publisher of Candy Jar books, everybody knows, that it actually takes place after Times Squared. So we've all read it, but we've decided to put it.
It's written in a way where it makes sense otherwise.
Yeah,
but
and it doesn't necessarily. I don't think we have to put it after, because
I didn't read it.
Oh, well, we wouldn't have to put it after, because it's obviously events happening to characters that aren't connected in the book, but there are mentions of where other characters are, and
Yeah.
so I think that what we'll do is we'll hold off and we'll do that next week with Times Squared, since they kind of relate. The other one that does relate and also sort of takes place,
it's
but
a
it's
bit
taking-
heavier related.
but it's also taking place concurrent to
Yes.
Times Squared is
The Lost Skin, episode
one. Thanks again,
Yeah,
Andy.
so we're getting more of this. And this novella is coming out episode at a time.
Let's all shake our fists in the air and scream Andy's name.
I've already berated him on Facebook once.
So we all enjoyed this one, I take it.
I loved this one. This is in true Doctor Who fashion, though, where you get the first part of the story and then you get the wonderful cliffhanger, and then you're like, until next time.
So this is back to Havoc Files 2 now.
Correct.
So we've really kind of spanned the whole
The
whole year worth of Candy Jar stuff with this. This was a
It's such a great what the other group is doing while Times Squared is going on.
Yeah.
It, the biggest problem with it is part 1.
It's not over.
It ends, and it doesn't really end. And it just kind of like,
that was my
okay,
shake the fist,
where's
my fist
the rest
in
of
the
it?
air. I can't believe that and it even says episode 1 in the title, but I still got to the end and thought, oh man, I gotta wait for episode 2. And that one was written by Andy Frankham-Allen.
Yes.
And really kind of cool that they've got this local legend of these basically seals that came on the shore and shed their skins, and so they can frolic with humans, and then they can go back off to sea.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I like how it's couched in this really big legend that they tell the tourists, and Samson kind of gets the real legend.
Yeah.
Which is weird that I'm saying real legend. It's almost an oxymoron. The real legend from the gal in the shop that's telling it, who kind of brings her Scottish. Is it Scottish? It's Scotland, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brings her Scottish accent down a little bit because she puts it on a little thick for the tourists. You get the impression, and kind of gives a little more information so that Samson can go search out what's going on. In the meantime, Professor Travers, who has already went searching for this legend. That was the other thing, the cool thing about them setting up the fact with Charlie, and we finally get Charlie and Green,
Larry.
Yeah.
in the same book, and actually working together, and actually, because this is something I've been waiting for a while, and the kind of meta aspect of the fact that when I think it's Samson sees them for the first time and remarks on how similar they look. It was kind of cool. But they've got this thing going on, and who's the is it?
Oh, what's his name?
Oh, help me out here. The guy that helped
It's
Anne.
the other
Charlie.
other
journalist. No, the
it's
other
Charlie and Chorley.
Charlie, yeah, that's right. And Charlie is the other one that helped.
Charlie's the
is
young kid.
Yeah,
the young
in
kid
Moonblink.
from Moonblink.
From Moonblink.
And they're obviously setting up a diversion.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of cool that they've had it's Charlie helping write Travers' memoirs.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool too, to kind of babysit Dad.
Yeah. I love the bit of Anne confiding in Bishop, and getting to see that personal relationship.
Well, and the realization that her father is becoming old and senile, and she's having to deal with an aging father, I think is handled really well in this as well. And then the fact that she calls Sally, right?
Yes.
And confides with Sally a bit over that aspect as well. And of course, it's mentioned that her and Lethbridge-Stewart are in America, and that's why she has to make the phone call, because she can't just go to Sally because they're in the U.S. dealing with something else. So,
which is really nice when you read Times Squared.
oh, is it? Do you get the other side of the conversation?
You do.
Oh, like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
I really enjoyed reading about Samson.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't realize it. I mean, I thought he was great in Showstoppers and the little appearances that we've kind of had with him since then. But being able to have him forefront taking the lead,
Front
and
center
just the more I read it, the more
I kind
I was
of
like,
hear his
I really,
mindset in his head too.
yeah, I
yeah.
really, and maybe it's just Andy's got a great take on him, but I really like Samson as a character. Not that I didn't before, but I'm really enjoying him.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And it's kind of fun, even though it's weird that we discussed him in this order, because maybe not because we went chronologically, but we've got Travers in this book obviously is older Travers, and we've got kind of the worries of the dementia and different things that are happening.
Yeah.
but he's still young Travers going off on his own
Oh, yeah.
on walkabout hunting
Charging
down
off
the
to
monster.
hunt down the legend.
You know, so it was kind of a nice blending of character there. Even, I mean, it's the same guy. It's just different points in his life.
Right.
Of course, I mean, I don't know how much we can praise Andy without it sounding, you know, self-congratulatory almost, because, you know, we know he can write.
Well,
He knows he can write.
we've had the most taste of his in this series. We've had the most,
that's true,
too.
most taste of his writing style and what he's doing it. And I think being one of the brains behind and kind of steamrolling this, I mean, he's, you know, the editor of the series as well. That helps. He certainly knows where he's steering the story, so he's going to have the strongest, I think.
He's got the strongest voice of it,
Yeah.
I think, for sure. But it's refreshing to come back to it again and just hear these characters and feel so certain that this is, you know, who they are. It's just it's exceptionally well done, except for that whole ending bit.
Except for it not being done.
Lack
Yeah.
of one.
That was a major fail on one level.
Andy, I don't think your story's long enough, but
Well, it did its job. It left me wanting more. So
All the more reason to pick up Havoc Files 3.
yeah, which, you know, I was lamenting that Havoc Files 3, I have to wait a full year, but I don't necessarily have to wait a full year because Havoc Files 1 and 2 both came out this year. So I mean, there's only been a span of about 6 to 8 months in between them. So
And there's been enough short stories
actually, it's
so
not even
far.
been that long because I
almost.
think the first Havoc Files came out in April, I want to say, and then the last one came out in October. So that's really only 6 months there. So.
and we've got the last book of 2016 coming out that was just announced with Mind of Stone, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's presumed there would probably be a Havoc Files 3 following that.
That would make sense.
So maybe sooner than you think. Maybe not. I don't want to put words in.
I want to, because technically season 2
We got to get
between
enough
Havoc
short stories. To
between
put in
Havoc
there.
Files 1 and Havoc Files 2 was season 2, right? And now season 3 is ending with Mind of Stone. Maybe not ending, but is at least that's part of season 3.
Yeah, it's I default to the book covers because the first series is that beige book cover. The second series
Yeah.
is blue, and the third series is green. And I think we've only gotten two. Well, we've only got one that has the green cover.
Well,
and we'll have another one that'll have
Blood
the
of
green cover.
Atlantis is green.
That's what I'm saying. We've only had one.
Times Squared is green.
Oh, that's right. We've had two, and then the third one, which will be the next one that comes out, will be
Yeah. And a lot of these shorts, Eve of the Fomorians, and those are green too. Covers,
right.
so.
No, I agree. But
So,
I'm saying as far as books,
they match
you know,
with
we had
Series 3.
4 in Series 1, 4 in Series 2, but we've only had 2 so far out in
Yes.
Series 3. So
No, we only had 3 in series 2.
Moonblink,
Showstoppers,
Showstoppers. Okay,
Grandfather.
that's right. That's right. I think we got a squeezed-in book in that first series, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
I think Forgotten Son kind of counts as pilot.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think
there's
you're
1,
right.
2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
So-
Then very soon we'll get Havoc Files. So April probably.
If not sooner.
April probably.
Easter Saturday.
Because remember, there was a bit of a gap there between
There was.
what was the last Mutually Assured Domination and Moonblink because they took some time off there.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
There,
they'll
but
do that
I'm trying to
again.
remember if there was a gap between Mutually Assured
There
Domination and Havoc.
No, well, there was because Havoc came out right about the same time as Moonblink.
Okay,
came out,
right
yeah.
before it.
Right before it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think Havoc came out. I got the first week in April, and Moonblink came out like late April. So
Oh, okay.
They were near each other. So I don't know. We're trying to presume what their schedule will be. I suppose if you went on their website, they probably have a terrific little layout of what's coming.
Well-
not Havoc, obviously, but
Only Mind of Stone is listed on the upcoming.
Yeah, so bottom line, I don't care about the books. I got to find out what happens
in Lost Skin,
in Lost
episode
Skin
2.
episode 2, Andy.
Yes.
So,
We're going to get a big old long file tomorrow after this releases from Andy that says, okay, here's the skitty.
I hope you're happy. I hope you are sitting there in your little house with your desk and your cramped writing conditions with the biggest cheese-eating grin on your face, knowing that you've driven us nuts. Listeners, if you haven't figured it out, we liked this one.
Yeah, we really liked it.
Yes.
Good.
It's well done. Well done. All right, what else?
No,
I thought you had an epiphany. You threw your finger up in the air.
no, but it was something else completely.
Oh, okay. Off air or on air?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Sean, what are we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up next week on the schedule for Friday Night Who, we will be finishing Web of Fear for parts 4 through 6. We thoroughly enjoyed this week. We had a lot of people show up for Friday Night Who this week, so thanks to everybody who jumped on. Certain podcaster at the table was absent. I couldn't help but notice. But you missed out on a good time. And then...
I often read the thread after, the Twitter feed afterward.
well, then you know how much fun we had.
I do.
Then we will be covering Time Squared, another Lethbridge-Stewart, the book by Rick Cross, which we are all reading now, and as well as, and I believe that's what was chosen as the book.
That's December's book.
December's book for the book
Traveling
club.
Vortex book.
Yes.
Book club.
So, for all the book club members who are going to be reading it, you may want to forego the bulk of the episode next week because of the spoiler discussion, at least until you get through it all. And then we will also have Power of the Daleks, episodes 3 and 4. And we will have our review of Eve of the Fomorians, since it is set post Time Squared. So we're going to lump all that together for next week. Following that, the next week we will have Revenge of the Cybermen with Tom Baker for Friday Night Who. And then we'll be taking a look at some Titan comic stuff. We're going to do the Fourth Doctor miniseries and the Supremacy of the Cybermen miniseries from Titan. So there's a kind of a Cybermen theme going on there. If you didn't notice, Revenge of the Cybermen and then Cybermen, Fourth Doctor and the Fourth Doctor. See how he did that?
I saw that.
That worked out well.
Very clever.
Not so much. And that will take us right up to Christmas Day. And so for our Christmas edition of Friday Night Who, the Husbands of River Song, so that we can kind of pick up where we left off, just in time for dun dun dun, the return of Dr. Mysterio. And we will be fresh off the airing of that episode.
Fresh off the airing.
Very fresh.
Very fresh. We may be recording on Christmas Day. So, we're not sure yet. Glenn won't commit.
Well, I can't. We'll find out. I'm still planning Christmas Day, so.
And of course, schedule's posted on online for those of you that are interested in what's coming up, and for those of you that want to be surprised, well, spoilers.
Hopefully, they've turned their iPods off by now. All right. Well, anything else we need to wrap up before we do this ending? Make sure, if you're not already following us on Patreon, that you are following us. What am I looking for?
Subscribing?
Donating to us through our Patreon account. Every bit of those donations go back right into this show. They're not really subscribers, are they? I guess they're supporters. That's what I'm looking for. If you're supporting us on Patreon, we appreciate it. Again, all that money goes back into
In
this
an effort
podcast.
to find new ways of saying this, you have completely lost
Here's the thing, is a little behind the scenes here, my computer's acting up, so Sean's in the driver's seat this week, and I'm just completely all out of sorts. I don't know what I'm doing here. I just feel lost. Anyway.
Well, let me tell you guys, but since we're pulling the curtain back this far, let me go just a little bit further. I don't like driving. I have to sit here with my arms crossed and the stern look on my face as Glenn hits the table and gestures wildly with his hands and makes all kinds of, rude and obscene comments that I'm going to have to go and edit out of the show. I like being that guy.
I like the driver's I like the passenger seat.
I'm the obnoxious kid in the back, jumping up and down, going, "Are we there yet?"
It's fun to be the obnoxious kid.
Yes.
Hey, no. Anyway, on a serious note, though, if you're supporting us on Patreon, we do appreciate it. And if you can help, go to our website, travelingthevortex.com. There you'll find a link to Patreon, and you can become a supporter as well.
I want to throw out a quick plug, if I may, for the upcoming video awesomeness that I hope is going to be awesome with Flicks with Friends. For the longtime listeners, you've heard us banter that around, and it is becoming a thing. So stay tuned and go find us on Facebook, and you can like and follow and all that kind of stuff there. And more is coming. So stay tuned.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing ya. Thanks for listening.
You hit stop.
I hit stop
now.
Oh, there it is. The stop button was like grayed out. It was not there. Stop.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.